Hello everyone, good evening. My name is David Halachmi and I'm the chair of the history department. It's my honor to welcome everyone to our 7th annual YomHaShoah event at Cypress College. It has been my honor to be the opening speaker every year for this event, and tonight I'd like to talk about another topic that is so vital to understanding the Holocaust. Normally I talk about why it's important to remember. Today I want to talk about why did the Holocaust happen? And there are many reasons that I don't have time tonight to get into every single cause of the Holocaust, but there are obviously the obvious ones, right? The ideas of losing freedom in a society. Every genocidal event in history was marked by some authoritarian regime, and how important it is to live in a society that values the idea of liberty. Another, of course, concept is the idea of just human morality and how we behave and treat each other. You know, there was an experiment called the Milgram Experiment, which was done after World War II, and how sad it was to see that people would literally shock their fellow human being because a man in a white coat told them to. Because they were, quote unquote, just following orders, one of the more infamous lines of World War II. The other idea, of course, that unfortunately leads to so much death and tragedy is the way we look at our fellow human being. That too many times we look at our fellow human being and we don't see a human being first. We see, them and we judge them by their race or by their religion. And, that's never a healthy way to look at society. But there's one more cause of the Holocaust that really I want to focus on tonight, because it's one of the core causes of the Holocaust that I've recently discovered a lot of people are not aware of. It's a little bit of a long story, but I'll make it brief, and it starts 3,000 years ago. 3,000 years ago, the Jewish people lived in this land called Israel. And they were the indigenous people of that land. They flourished on that land of milk and honey, this beautiful land of milk and honey. Sadly, it did not take long for other civilizations to attempt to conquer that land. The ancient Assyrians came in and dispersed the Jews, but we survived. The ancient Babylonians came in. They destroyed Solomon's temple. They enslaved tens of thousands of the Jewish inhabitants, but we survived. Shortly after that, the ancient Persians entered the land, and the ancient Persians were kinder. They gave the Jewish people their freedom, but the Jewish people always struggled to have this kind of complete self-autonomy over their land. Yet we survived. Years later, the Romans. They came in, they ravaged the land, they destroyed another temple, the Second Temple of Solomon, and then the Roman Emperor Hadrian came into power. He outlawed circumcision. He massacred hundreds of thousands of Jewish people, and then he took this land of Israel and renamed it to Palestine, all in an attempt to destroy the very identity of the Jewish people. But we survived. The Umayyads, the Abbasids, the Ottomans came into the land, and some even literally built over our own places of worship. But we survived. And then in the 1800s AD, there was a beautiful idea known as Zionism. A simple idea, a place of refuge for the Jewish people. That is what Zionism means, a place of refuge. When the Jews who were scattered and persecuted throughout the world were told, come back home. We need to find a way back to this land of milk and honey, this land that is made barren and soulless by your loss and made whole again. And so they did. At least Jewish people tried. Yet the creation of this homeland for the Jewish people was stalled, was delayed, even as Jews were trying to escape the persecution of the Nazis. Many Jews were told, no, 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 you can't come back to this land. Too many Jewish people are coming in. There were some who, even by the British, were sent into detention camps on the island of Cyprus. And then the Holocaust. 6 million murdered, tortured, gassed. It was only after the war that the international community finally acknowledged the Jewish state of Israel. So people falsely believe that the state of Israel was created because of the Holocaust. The state of Israel was not created because of the Holocaust. The Holocaust happened because there was no state of Israel. There was no safe haven. That is one of the core causes. If there was that Jewish state of Israel, if there was a place for the Jewish people to feel safe and have their way to defend themselves, 6 million Jews would not have been murdered. So those today who choose to call themselves anti-Zionists and want to deny the Jewish people their land are no better than any of the civilizations that came before that tried to destroy us. Those civilizations failed, and the anti-Zionist will fail too. I am an immigrant. I was not born in America, but I moved to America, and I love the United States of America. It is my home. But one thing I've never done is given up my my Israeli citizenship. And the reason I've never given that citizenship up is because I know if it ever happens again, there will be one place on earth that will take me in and my family in. That's how vital that Jewish state of Israel is for Jewish survival. So if we really mean never again, it means not just standing behind the Jewish people, but also standing with our survivors and, of course, standing with the state of Israel. And proudly to hold your heads up and say, if you are a Jew, if you are a Christian, if you're a Muslim, if you're an atheist, if you're a Buddhist, it does not matter, and proudly say, I am a Zionist. Because that is what will prevent another Holocaust in the future. I thank you for listening tonight. I wish you all a meaningful evening. God bless. Thank you.